You might turn your Bibles to Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4. We'll be starting there in a few moments. As Brian talked about this morning, Brian and I are very excited to align our Sunday morning lessons with our Bible class. However, we're not going to be trying to do that with our Sunday evening lessons, at least not for now. And so tonight's lesson is unrelated to the class or even the theme of this month. When I saw that VidAngel made a comeback, I decided I wanted to talk about movies and TV shows and how we can avoid filth. If you don't know about VidAngel, I'll tell you about it later, okay? As we all know, TV shows and movies are, for the most part, full of trash. The sex, nudity, immodesty, murder, and violence, the filthy language is just in most of the programming. Even relatively clean programming is often littered with filth. PG-13 movies are out of control. PG movies, you would think surely we can watch those. Those have been filthy also for years, most of the time. Even totally clean shows, like history shows or science programs, contain godless ideology and postmodern thinking. And we are told that evolution is a proven fact, and the suggestion is that there is no such thing as God. We don't need God because we have science. I mean, that's even in a lot of the clean programming. Or take sports, for example, which I'm not saying don't watch any games, but certainly we can see that what is otherwise a very clean program shows these cheerleaders and their provocatively dressed outfits. And so filth makes its way into even what you might consider the cleanest of programming. So often that does happen. There are some exceptions to that. But since this is the norm, and since this is what our culture is used to, and since this is what we have become used to as Christians in this world, then there is the danger of becoming callous. And I want to read in Ephesians chapter 4. I actually want to start in verse 17, and we'll go through verse 19. Paul says, "So this I say and affirm together with the Lord, that you walk no longer just as the Gentiles also walk, in the futility of their mind, being darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the hardness of their heart. And they, having become callous, have given themselves over to sensuality for the practice of every kind of impurity with greediness." So the Gentiles became callous. They became hardened so that they didn't feel it anymore. You know, it didn't bother them that they were doing all these wicked things. And that's the danger we all have to watch out for. It's getting to the point where you don't feel it anymore. And it doesn't bother you. You know, hearing certain words or seeing certain things on a screen might have at one point made you feel ashamed, shocked. But maybe we've lost the ability to blush in our culture and even in the church, so that maybe you don't even notice it anymore. To the point where if one Christian asks another Christian, "Was that movie good?" I mean, I'm thinking about, taking my family to go watch it. It's a pretty clean movie. That the Christian may say, "I don't remember there being anything bad in it." And maybe that Christian goes, the one who was asking the question goes and watches the movie, and it was filthy. Well, why did that other Christian not remember if there was any filth in it? Because maybe his heart has become hardened to the point where he doesn't feel sin anymore. He's not shocked by what the world has to offer and all the filth that's in the movies and TV shows that are out there. So we have to really watch out for that. All right? What we are to do is to guard our heart. Proverbs 4:23. To guard your heart, or keep your heart with all diligence. Not just to guard your heart, but to do it with all diligence. To stand guard as a soldier, to protect that spring of your heart from any pollution that might make its way in and then might find its way into all the streams that flow from that spring of your heart. Because out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies, Jesus Himself said. So we have to protect our heart, protect that wickedness from that garbage from entering in our heart, because as it is said, garbage in, garbage out. In Psalm 1 and verse 1, I'd like to read this very powerful verse. Psalm 1 and verse 1. How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. This individual, he doesn't walk, stand, or even sit with the wicked, sinners, or scoffers, or their path, their influence. And the point there is that this individual is being very, very careful to reject sinful influences. To do, as 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 33 says, do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good morals. We understand that when it comes to people that we are around. Hopefully we understand that we need to be very careful about the influences that we are allowing ourselves to be around, that we're surrounding ourselves with as far as our friends and acquaintances. But what about with the filth we watch in our homes? Can we not have that same influence? I mean, think about it this way. If someone was standing in your living room using all sorts of profanities, right in the presence of your kids or whatever, would you maybe ask them, please not to talk that way in your home? It's your house. If they continued using that kind of language, maybe you would just ask them to leave. Probably that's what you would do. Can you just leave if you're not going to watch your mouth in my home? Absolutely. So we have that standard. But then we choose to watch programming that has those same words right there in our living room. And do we not see that we're basically doing the same thing? We're inviting those individuals on the TV screen to act that way, to talk that way, or any other number of immoral acts right there in our home. And we're paying money to have this filth pumped right into the brains and the hearts of ourselves and our children. So it's sobering for us to all think, for me to think about. So I'm passionate about this subject, about avoiding the filth that's out there in media, in all forms of media, different forms of media. And so today we're going to focus on TV and movies. And what I'd like to do is talk about trash removing tools for TV and movies. This might just be the longest title of any lesson I've ever preached. I don't know. It's pretty long. Trash removing tools for TV and movies. Now, we live in an era where there's a lot of technology. So I'm going to talk to you about some of that. Hope it doesn't make you nervous. Some of you might say, well, I'll just watch John Wayne movies, and that'll fix the whole problem. And if that fixes the problem, then that's great too. But this is information that some of us really need to be aware of. And I want to talk to you about 4 tools to help us remove filth from the programming we watch. First of these is VidAngel, which, as I mentioned in the introduction, has made a comeback. So they're being sued. I don't believe they're doing anything illegal, but there are 4 studios, including Disney and so forth, that don't like the fact that they're filtering out stuff. They don't have VidAngel doesn't have the right to do that. And so they're being sued. Now, they say it's not for that reason, but that's what it really comes down to. All of the filtering companies have been sued. All right? ClearPlay has managed to last for many years. We'll talk about ClearPlay too. So VidAngel is being sued, and their website was shut down. The $1 movies, if any of y'all saw that, that you could filter out a bunch of filth in the streaming movies that you watch, TV shows too. Okay? So now what they've done is they've changed their model. They're still being sued, but they've totally changed the way that they go about producing their content. And who knows, they may get sued again. They may get shut down on that. But anyway, what VidAngel does, as I said, is filter streaming movies and TV shows. And so you can get the app like on your device. You can go through the website like on your computer. Let me just show you an example. If you went to the website and you went to Family Pics, okay? And let's say that you were curious about Daddy Daycare. It's kind of an older movie. Probably over 10 years old. I can't remember what year it says on there, but maybe you've never watched that one. Thought, well, let's check that one out. It looks fairly, harmless. You notice there, and I've not got my screen on here, so I can't see it very well, but where it says 110 out of 172 filters on, I think that's what it says. And so what I've done is I've already gone in there and I've chosen certain filters to filter out bad content from this movie, okay? And so then you click on that, or click on where it says filters, and you can go in here and you can choose exactly specifically how you want to set these filters. And you can customize it. You'll see that there are two bars. The one on the left, what you'll hear, and the one on the right says what you'll see. So there are these white bars with the black lines. What those black lines mean is, according to what you have set on your settings, that represents where you won't hear certain things that are said. And so there's a whole bunch of them you'll see there. By the way, this movie is rated PG. And then the second white line is what you'll see, and those black lines represent, according to your settings, the things that, the scenes that will actually be skipped. Okay? Okay, so the first category there says miscellaneous. All right, so I've got that one marked off. It says objectionable or disturbing as the subheading under there. And for this movie, it's just gross kind of stuff that I might not want my kids to just see and imitate. All right, just maybe some crude things. So we just cross that one out. Then you have language. And so I've got that one. All of those are crossed out. You're not going to hear any of that language. There are nine uses of the Lord's name in vain in this movie. 60 crude comments, 5 profanities, 8 sexual references or comments, and then one that's kind of random here, captions with profanity. So I've checked that one off, so we're not going to see any of that if we're watching this movie. Okay? Then if we keep scrolling down there, we come to sex, nudity, and modesty. I've got all that marked out. Violence, blood, and gore. I'm not real worried about this particular movie on the violence or the blood or the gore, so I don't have that one checked off. Then we have alcohol or drug use. Now, I just showed an example of where you can click on the subheading and it opens up the specific instances under there, and you can just know exactly what you're removing and what you're not removing. Okay? So here, for example, you can see where it says a man talks about drugs, and so I just marked that specific one out. And you might say, well, I'll leave the other ones or whatever. You can do that with all of these sections. So I just wanted to make you aware of how to use VidAngel if you've never done that. How does VidAngel work? Well, it works now, the way that the new model works, is it works with Netflix, with Amazon, with HBO, and soon they're planning to have other filtering services that it works through. All right, so let's just say, for example, that you've got a Netflix account. Probably a lot of us in here, maybe most of us have a Netflix account. All right? And there's a movie like Daddy Daycare that maybe you kind of wanted to watch, but you're not sure about what's in it, so you're not sure if you want to do that. Well, what you would do is you would, in addition to having your Netflix account, which you pay monthly for, you have a VidAngel account, which is like $8 a month. And instead of watching the movie through Netflix, you go on to VidAngel and you watch the movie through VidAngel and let it filter out all the filth. So it's a really neat service. And you can do the same thing with Amazon and HBO. So that's how it works. That's VidAngel. So that's the main one I really wanted to tell you about. These other ones are also very helpful too. So let's talk now about the second trash removing tool for TV and movies. This is ClearPlay. ClearPlay is VidAngel's competition. But the one thing that ClearPlay offers that VidAngel doesn't is a ClearPlay filtering DVD player. Phenomenal. I've used it for years. I've used one for years. And this was around before VidAngel ever came about, long before that. I was using ClearPlay. And so basically, the beauty of this is it works with practically all movie DVDs. There are some exceptions, okay, but pretty much all movie DVDs and now Blu-ray, all the ones you currently own. Some of us don't want to stream movies. Just want to watch a DVD. You can put it in this special DVD player and it has movie-specific filters on it. How does that work? Well, it includes the newer model. Now, the one I've always used is the old model where you have to use a filter stick and download it and all that. The newer models include a built-in Wi-Fi that automatically downloads your filters. So in other words, when a movie comes out on video, ClearPlay will come out with movie-specific filters for that movie when it comes out. So you can put that movie in your DVD player, and you can customize the settings, not as specific as VidAngel settings, but you can customize the settings and have it remove what you want it to remove, and it is reliable. I have found it to be very, very effective. ClearPlay also has a filtering streaming service, but it's nowhere near what VidAngel's is. So, but they do have one. All right. Now, thirdly, the third trash removing tool for TV and movies is the TV Guardian. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of TV Guardian. This is another thing that I used for years, and I don't use it anymore because I don't need it anymore. I don't have TV channels. But if you do have, cable or even rabbit ears or whatever, then this is a great way to get filthy language out of the programming that you're watching. And so it works for practically all non-streaming programming, all right, that has closed captioning. Anything that is non-streaming that has closed captioning, it's going to work with. And so it's a device. You don't pay a membership. You just buy the device, and you hook it up to your TV, like between your TV and the source of the entertainment, like the DVD player, for example. And it'll read the closed captioning. And when it comes to a point where certain words are said that you don't want to hear, and you can customize the settings with 3 different levels, then it'll actually mute that word. And it mutes a little bit more than just the word. And so you can have it set to where it'll put up a phrase on your screen that has the phrase that's muted, and instead of the curse word or whatever word it is that you're not wanting to hear, it'll put a replacement word. I find that kind of an annoying thing to do, but that option is there. TV Guardian. This is the LT. It's a little cheaper. There's a more expensive version if you have a high definition TV. But by the way, let me say this. I think a lot of people at this point say, well, I can't do it. I don't want to spend $200. Might say that with the ClearPlay DVD player. A couple $100 for that and the membership. But we're going to be sacrificing something. Are we going to sacrifice allowing filth to come into our heart, or sacrifice a couple $100? Right? Either you're going to let something else do the filtering, or you're going to be the filter. And the trash is going to go right through you, and it's going to get trapped in your heart. So I think it's worth the investment. If you like to watch regular TV, I think that this is something you have to have, in my view. Now, thing to know about TV Guardian is it doesn't remove any other content. I'll talk about that. I forgot to mention this. Let me mention this first. This just shows how effective TV Guardian is at removing language. We Bought a Zoo. The movie We Bought a Zoo is rated PG, and it has 22 offensive words. Again, that's very common. With TV Guardian, you wouldn't hear any of those words. Cowboys and Aliens, rated PG-13, 42 offensive words. With TV Guardian, you wouldn't hear any of those. The Avengers, rated PG-13, 21 offensive words. With TV Guardian, none of those. Miss Congeniality, PG-13, 62 offensive words. With TV Guardian, you hear 2 of them. Now, why is that? Well, because of the fact that it reads the closed captioning, it doesn't always perfectly line up with when those words are actually spoken. Sometimes closed captioning is a little off. So in that case, the muting would come before or after the word that was spoken. And so it's got about a 95% accuracy rate. Okay? But like I said, I used to use TV Guardian for a long time and found it to be very helpful. But like I said earlier, like I started to say, it doesn't remove any other content. So unlike VidAngel or ClearPlay, you're not going to be able to skip scenes of violence or immodesty or things like that. Okay. fourth and final tool I'd like to talk to you about actually is not a trash removing tool, it's a trash avoiding tool that I would like to make you aware of. And this is pluggedin.com. There are websites like this that are out there that are free. This is, I think, the best one that's free. And it is owned by Focus on the Family, which is a James Dobson company. And it provides an overview of inappropriate content in movies and TV shows. And more than just movies and TV shows, as I'll show you in just a moment. So let's say that you decided to go and visit the website. And so here's what you would see. Now on the top you see where it says movies, TV, music, games, books. So all those forms of media, you can go in and you can research a lot of different titles to find out what kind of content you would expect, right? As far as any trash that might be in there. Let's say that you wanted to check out the new Transformers movie, right? Transformers: The Last Night. Well, the first thing that you'd look at here is the plugged-in rating. Now, if this screen was better, if it provided the details a little better, you would see that there are 3 plugs here that are kind of gray. Okay, so a total of 5 plugs. This one gets 2 out of 5. What is the plug all about? Well, that means how clean it is. If it has 5 plugs, super clean movie, right? 1 plug, super filthy. 2 plugs, really, actually, still pretty super filthy, right? So that would be the category that Transformers: Last Night would be. By the way, it's PG-13. So your kid says, Mom, Dad, I want to go watch Transformers: The Last Night with my friends. Well, let's check it out first. So you scroll down here, and you see positive elements. You see spiritual content. So if there's any spiritual content in the movie, it'll be talked about there. Then the sexual content, be careful about reading that because it gets pretty specific. But it tells you what's in there. Violent content, again, very, very specific. Crude or profane language, very specific. They don't just literally spell the word out for you, but it tells you how many of each word are in there. Drug and alcohol content, other negative elements. And then in conclusion, they basically say whether they think, you should watch this or not. So, very, very helpful. Now, as I said, it's not just movies that you can research, but it's also TV shows. So let's say you wanted to go and check out the show that's called The Good Wife. Now, I don't even know if The Good Wife is still on TV. I haven't watched TV in years. When people start talking about commercials, like, did you see that commercial? I never know what they're talking about because I haven't seen commercials in a long, long time because using Netflix and stuff, you don't have commercials. But anyway, so I did a lesson a few years ago, and so this is a little dated information here. 2014, The Good Wife was one of the shows that was out there on CBS. So what you can do is you can click on some specific episodes to find out an overview of kind of what to expect in that episode, but not every single one. But what you can do is you can click on an overview of what to expect for that TV show in general. And I just want to read to you what's in this bottom paragraph here in this overview of this show, The Good Wife. Content concerns vary wildly. Some episodes are fairly staid. Others revolve around ticklish moral issues, gory crime scenes, and or burgeoning outside the office sexual relationships. Kalinda Sharma, the firm's investigator, is bisexual, and her dalliances with lovers, including Peter, often make their way into plot lines. Characters utter mild profanities and make sexual references. So, you could check that out first, and then ask yourself, would watching that show be guarding my heart with all diligence? And I think that we all know what the answer to that question would be. Just because there are filtering options doesn't mean that we shouldn't be careful what we choose in the first place. That's a point I want to make. There are some shows, many, probably most, that no matter what I can do to filter it with technology, I still am not going to support that, and I'm still not going to subject myself to it, because you can't literally filter everything that's a bad influence out of a lot of these shows, okay? Also, there are times when filtering is impossible. Like when you go to the movie theater. And so, say you go to the theater and then you just say, this movie is really filthy. If I had only known, I wouldn't have come and paid money to watch this and sat through it. Well, there's no excuse anymore. I mean, we live in the information age. All you got to do is do some research ahead of time, and you can know exactly what kind of stuff to expect when you go and watch a certain movie. So the point I'm trying to make here is we need to research ahead of time. Research ahead of time. Even if you're going to filter the movie. I like to combine several of these tools that we've talked about tonight. Anytime I'm considering, or Holly and I are considering watching a movie with the family. So research ahead of time, very important. Like I said earlier, if your child wants to go on with his friends and go watch a movie, don't just kind of hope, well, it's rated PG-13, I'm sure it won't be too bad. Go and do some research yourself and then say, honey, I'm sorry, I can't let you watch that filth. I would love to, but I can't let you do that. And they need that. Your kids need that. What we need to do, what we as Christians have a responsibility to do, is to preempt evil. In Proverbs 22 and verse 3, it says, the prudent foresees the evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. The prudent foresees the evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. We need to foresee the evil. And we have no excuse not to do that in this age we live in. In Romans 13 and verse 14, but put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh, that you shall fulfill its lusts. I'm afraid that too many Christians, and I know that I have been in this category myself, that too many Christians are providing for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. And in regard to our entertainment, we really have to be careful not to do that. I believe that Christians need to raise their standards, that we need to raise our standards. So many Christians, I'm afraid, have low standards of morality in terms of what they allow themselves to see and hear and enter their heart, and what they allow their kids to see. And we've become much like the world. We've not been transformed and totally changed, but we've been conformed to the world. And we need to be very careful. It may be that after hearing this information, you decide to eliminate TV and movies altogether. That would be very extreme, and there are a few who probably would be willing to do that, but if you're willing to do that, that would be great. However, I do believe that if you're careful, it is possible to watch certain movies and shows that you normally shouldn't watch if you use the trash-removing tools that we talked about tonight. VidAngel, ClearPlay, TV Guardian, PluggedIn.com, which actually that last one is a trash-avoiding tool. If you put these 4 tools in your tool belt and use them regularly, then you can really go a long way in avoiding the filth that is in our entertainment. Whatever you do, be extremely careful to guard your heart with all diligence and to reject sinful influences. How blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the path of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither, and in whatever he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but they are like chaff, which the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. So I encourage you all, choose the way of the righteous. Choose that lifestyle. If you're not a Christian, then you can certainly do that tonight. The opportunity is available to choose to put on the Lord Jesus Christ, to put Him on in baptism, and to turn away from your sin and choose that you're going to live the kind of life that doesn't make provision for the flesh, and to choose to have a moldable heart that is not callous And having repented of your sins and turned to the Lord, you get baptized into Him and continue to follow Him faithfully. If you are a Christian, if you allowed your heart to become callous, you've become conformed to this world, you've not been guarding your heart with all diligence, then what we need to do in that case is we need to repent because we're sinning. We're sinning. And we need to turn to the Lord and ask Him for forgiveness and seek to change the way that we serve Him, to change the way that we live in this world, and to change the entertainment that we watch. If you'd like to be baptized now, or if we can pray for you, then we ask you to please come to the front as we stand and sing the song of invitation.